everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Wealth Podcast. I have Miguel Prado here. He's a co-founder of SoulPod, investor, entrepreneur, one of the big players in the Phoenix market and the real estate space in general. So definitely a lot of information to learn in this conversation. I'm excited to get into it. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, dude, thanks for inviting me, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you've been in the Phoenix market. I went to a few of the meetups you have with SoulPod. Do you want to kind of get into how you got started and then maybe like what SoulPod is and like a 30-second, intro on all that?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. So how I got started in real estate, basically, to make the story short, is you all know Rodolfo. He was in your podcast. He bought a house. And when he bought a house, I met the realtor that was helping him buy the house. And we started talking about real estate. I don't know anything about real estate. The only thing he told me was that, yeah, if you're a realtor, you sell a house a month, you make $6,000. I was like, what? I was making like $3,000 at that time, working at Enterprise a month. And that's gross. So I was like hooked, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Did a little bit more reading on it. And a couple months later, I quit my job cold turkey and decided to become a realtor. After that, I decided that, pursuing a realtor for all of 2018 was not my thing. I sucked at it and started listening to a podcast called Real Estate Disruptors. That's why I love podcasts, because they're so powerful. And that's where I started learning about real estate investing. Started learning a lot about real estate investing, wholesaling, flipping, all that. A lot of big players going into the Steve Trank's podcast. And I was hooked when I learned about wholesaling and all that. And not that I quit being a realtor, but I decided that I wanted most of my attention to be invested into that. So I tracked Steve down. I got Steve to give me a job as an acquisition manager. And then from then, like the next 3-4 years of my life have been completely different. So that's how I got started in real estate.
That was my first impression on real estate, is that you had to be a realtor. That's kind of the common conception, right?
Yeah. Common conception to become like realtor, like most, I'd say 80% of the people you talk to, that's how they got into real estate. Other 20 that don't even have a license, did it the way I should have done it.
And here's kind of an interesting question. Do you think if you were to compare the opportunity you have of being a realtor versus an investor, and then the work required to make money, to me, it outweighs on the investing side. Do you think, like, for example, a deal a month, which is harder, as a realtor or an investor?
Dude, I think that's a very good question, man. I think it all comes down to your personality.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, I'm a high D, so I'm a driver. I like to be in control of stuff. However, when I was a realtor and I was showing houses to buyers, I was like, buy this house? No? Okay, we'll go to another one. So that wasn't my thing, right? Obviously, you could go again and get listings, but they were interviewing 10 other realtors. And I don't know, a lot of emotions in between you serving the client versus being an investor, which is my personality type. I serve myself, right? Is if you're a realtor, you're serving your clients. If you're an investor, you're serving yourself. And for me, my personality tailored way better to become an investor and become a wholesaler and a fix and flipper. So if you're a similar type of personality, that you're a driver, you don't like to deal with other people, and become an investor first. But if you like serving people and you like to tailor to, you want to see 40 houses, then become a realtor. So for me, it was easier to get my first investment deal than my first realtor deal, just to put that into perspective.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. And I think you did hit the nail on the head as far as it goes to a personality type. And I also think that translates to the opportunity side of things as well, because it's almost comparable to, I mean, and it's not like an apples to apples comparison, but like someone who works a W-2 job, you sign up for like this process of how it works. It's been done, like a system. You work for a brokerage, and you can kind of do the things that get you the leads, and then that gets you a commission. Whereas
Yeah.
the investing side of things, it's almost like this huge sea, and it's almost feeds into the entrepreneurial side of things, where that's where you get like the Ubers and the Netflix and the Tesla, and these crazy returns, because there's just kind of inherently a little bit more risk. Do you think that's the case? You also have to have a little more risk tolerance?
Oh, 1,000%. I think your risk tolerance as an investor has to be way higher than a realtor, because if you're a realtor, I mean, let's backtrack, Sagar, because I have a ADHD.
Okay.
Investor and wholesaler are two different things, right? If you're an investor, you carry risk. If you're fixing flipping a house, you're carrying risk.
Mhm.
If you're holding a house as a rental, you're carrying risk.
Mhm.
If you're a wholesaler, yes, you are carrying risk. You may have some overhead, marketing expenses, salaries, everything, but it's not that high, right?
Right.
So if you're a realtor, your risk is very minimal. I mean, not making a commission, that's your risk. If you're a real estate investor and you're flipping houses, and you have two houses that you're flipping, and here in the median price is 500,000, well, you're flipping $1 million worth of real estate, right? Like, the risk is way higher. So to do the transition from a realtor to an investor, your risk tolerance does have to be bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of like a funny thought process for me, because I mean, it's all real estate, right? But it's like what works with you personally, and to me, and I think inherently people that are interested in real estate tend to gravitate towards the opportunity side with the risk if they know what's available. Like, I think a lot of realtors even kind of have that entrepreneurial spirit. But
No,
so
I agree. I think realtors have entrepreneurial spirit, and I think right now, with social media and technology, you are seeing that realtors are having to evolve, and realtors, you see them now portray themselves as an investor. Even here at SoulPod, that's what we preach, right? Hey, if you're a realtor, learn how to become an investor and be an investor first, and then a realtor second.
mhm.
And your doors you're gonna have, instead of just having, here's a signed listing, you're gonna have 10 options for the seller instead of just having a listing.
Yeah,
So I think right now you're seeing a big evolution of realtors becoming investors themselves, and becoming savvy and smart investors that are not only going to help the clients better way, but also they're working to build wealth themselves and have a better life set up, because wealth is built through investments.
yeah, I agree. So let's talk about SoulPod and how that came to be, because you guys have a pretty cool thing going on over there. You have a great reputation. So how did you become a part of that? How did it get created? Where's that story begin?
So remember when I told you I got into wholesaling around 2019. So I worked as an acquisition manager for 1 full year under Steve Trang. And after that, I mean, Rod and I used to work there as well. We left that mm, that position. It wasn't a job. It was commission. So it wasn't like, is you eat what you kill. However, when we left in March of 2020, we partnered up, Rodolfo and myself, and we started doing deals by ourselves. We were setting up our own wholesale company, and we started doing deals. And then we ran into, I already knew Templeton Walker, great dude that I still look up to, and following him on social media, met him a couple times. We had lunch here and there. He was already 5-6 years into the game, and we were just 2 years in, 3 years in. So there was a gap, right? However, that was a dude that I looked up to. I wanted to have similar business, wanted to live the lifestyle they were living, very family oriented. I mean, really, really down to earth human being, which all my core values aligned very well with him. We didn't know each other, but that, sometimes that you don't know someone, but you do know someone just
Yeah.
because your core values are the same.
Mhm.
So long story short, every deal Rodolfo and I got, we started sending it to Templeton. Like, here's the deal. Go sell it, go wholesale it, go flip it. Here's another deal. Go sell it, go wholesale it, go flip it. Like, whatever. Even if we got a deal and we sold it ourselves, we would give Templeton half or some of the profits for him. Just, here you go. So we started leading with value to Templeton, a dude that's already a millionaire, already doing this real estate investment thing at a very high level. And long story short, like, we did, I don't know, 15 deals by August, and they're like, hey, I think there's something here. Let's continue dating. Let's partner up. And from August to December, we did over $500,000 in like wholesale fees. We flipped like 3 houses together. And we're like, dude, like, this works. Like, let's keep pushing. And that's pretty much how SoulPod was born, by us delivering value to a higher net worth and higher level individual.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there. So let's start with the finding the deal piece, because someone would hear that, and I like the saying that's like, simple is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sounds simple. You find the deal, you bring the value, boom, you got a multi-million-dollar company, right? But like, how can you speak to the upfront consistency and work and like the process of finding deals and doing them yourself and kind of venturing onto your own? I imagine that was a difficult process. How did you guys navigate that?
It was a difficult process. So that was a very broad question. So let me think how I can answer this. Obviously, you're right? This looks easy on the outside, like do deals here, there, build a multi-million-dollar company. However, it all comes down, Brennan, to the core values.
Mm-hmm.
That's the foundation of everything that we've built, and that of every company that's out there that flourishes. It all comes down to core values.
Mm-hmm.
What are the core values of the owners? In this case, it's Rodolfo, Templeton, and mine. What are our core values, and do they align with each other? And to ours, we didn't set it. The funny thing is, we never set up our core values until 3 months ago. And just because 6 months ago, we said, like, we need to become a business. We need to start treat it, and we'll talk about that, treat like a business. And we did an exercise where core values came out, and guess what? All our core values were the exact same. Like, and we were so aligned, and there was a lot of energy, love, and affection between the owners that's what made us flourish into taking risks together, into wholesaling together, into making those investments together that led to a multi-million-dollar company. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that answer made sense. I don't know if you want to rephrase the question or.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think it, it's almost one of those things that, like, you kind of assume when you have a group of people that work really well together, even if you didn't say it off the front, like, yeah, we all have the same values. It's like, inherently, that's probably going to be why it ended up, it's not a surprise when, like, it's not going to work. Turns out we do all think the same way.
Yeah, the relationship's going to fracture. Like, you could go make millions of dollars, but if your core values aren't aligned, you will fracture. That's just the fact. And that's why we've flourished. That's why we trust each other. Like, with every decision that's made, we support each other. There's been scenarios where A was supposed to happen. One small example is we sold a deal, and that dude actually now works for us. His name is Matthew Khalil. He's one of the dudes that most talented individuals I've ever met in my life. Amazing dude. However, we did a deal with him, and you know our model, like, bring us the ingredient, we'll bake the cake together, we'll split the profits, right? Mm-hmm. So we did a deal, and in that deal, we ended up making, I don't remember the amount. The thing is, not much money. But Templeton had told him in a phone call, and Templeton didn't even know the finances of the deal. He rarely knows the finances. It's like, yeah, Miguel will write you a check for, I don't know, $7,000. And I was supposed to only write him a check for like $1,500. because of closing costs, holding costs, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't end up making a lot of money. So when Matthew shows up, he's like, oh, well, I was writing him the check for like $1,500. And he's like, oh, well, Templeton told me it was like $7,000. I was like, oh, I didn't even question it. I didn't get mad. I didn't even call Temp. Like, I was just like, oh, really? That's what Temp told you? It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Shredded the other check, wrote him a $7,000 check. Here you go. Right? Because that's how a partnership should work. Like, a partnership that doesn't have those core values would have been like, what the fuck did you just do? Why did you told him 7,000? We just lost $6,000. Like, no, like, dude, that's what my partner said. You will never see me not support my business partner's decision. Like, we may not agree on something, but we'll talk it. We'll talk face to face but you will never see me disagree with anyone about if my partner says this, tell someone this is how it's done. Hey, that's how it's done, right? Same goes to if I say something. So that I think, I don't know.
That's a great example. No, that shows a real case study example of how you apply those values. And I think an interesting part of that as well is also like, even if there was some sort of a discussion that needed to be had, like, yeah, you lost $6,000. Okay, like what happened? You didn't do it in that interaction where it was going to jeopardize, have that extra collateral damage. It's like,
no.
Okay, you take the loss, and then if you need to, yeah, sure, go back and talk it over and like what happened, but you didn't sacrifice the relationship on the front end of things. Which
no,
is also...
and that's weird. And you know what, Brendan? I have never actually thought about that, because you are absolutely right. I just had an aha moment with you. Matthew Khalil now works with us.
Yeah.
We're partnered on some deals. We own houses together with him. He brings us a lot. Like, he's made us probably well over $250,000, just him, in the deals and opportunities he's brought to us. So like I didn't cry about $6,000 or anything, nor did I even mention it to Temp. But now look, like, you're right. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's cool. Wow. Okay, so you mentioned you started bringing Templeton a bunch of deals.
Mm-hmm.
Were you cold calling, direct mail, door knock? How'd you do that?
We were cold calling. Rodolfo and I were cold calling, and we were texting nonstop. So we were like machines. Like, Rod and I used to live together. We were roommates for like 5 years, and we would wake up at 6:37, do our thing, and then you would see us in the same room making phone calls, like just 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like, that was the day. And we did that for like 6 months nonstop. And obviously we didn't start seeing the results until like 90, 120 days after. And boy, were they good results. It's just a testimony of putting in the work, right? But cold calling and texting were what we used back in 2019 and 2020.
Okay. And so how has that changed? And maybe even speak to the changing market, because there's a lot of fluff out there. Everyone's kind of putting their own 2 cents into what's going on and what's happening. You guys are on the front lines doing deals still. What are you seeing as far as what works and what doesn't?
So right now, we still cold call, we still text. However, a year ago, no, not a year ago, like 8 months ago, we had 40 cold callers. We ran a $50,000 a month operation in telemarketing, just cold calling. That's with paying VAs, that's with paying systems, dialers, lead managers, KPI managers, all that. We were spending $50,000 a month. And it worked. It worked because we had 10 callers and we were crushing. It's like, we knew our numbers. It's like, hey, that's for every 50 leads that we get a contract. I mean, each caller's like on average is doing about 1 lead a day. So, I mean, it was taking us a week to get a contract, right? 10 leads per day times 5 days, that's 50. Like, we started seeing those trends by reviewing our KPIs. And we're like, okay, this is good. Let's double it. Boom, doubled it. It doubled. Boom, let's add 10 more. And then we found a threshold that once we hit 30 callers, it didn't get the same result as 20, 30, like from 10 to 20. And then we went to 40 to kind of stress test it, and the ROI came down. So right now, to get to where you're going is what worked before doesn't specifically work right now. We slowed down to 20 callers, and by tracking our numbers, we saw that in the last 2 months, cold calling efficiency has gone down dramatically. So has texting. That's for us. So we started thinking outside the box, like what can we start doing? Not outside the box, it's still marketing out there. So right now, we're currently only have 10 callers. We're texting, and we are doing PPC. We're doing radio, and we're about to start TV.
Wow. So big
So
shift.
big shift. And our goal for everyone that sees this is a big nugget. Our goal is to become, we still want that outbound marketing, your 5-10 callers, your 2 texters, sending, like looking for those deals, right? However, our goal is to become a inbound marketing company, to where all of our radio ads, all of our billboards, all of our TV ads is what MPPC produces the leads. And that's no big secret. But however, if you're a company out there and you're hunting for deals, it's going to get exhausting. That's for us, right? So start shifting into becoming the honey and not being the bee. Bee is out there like stinging people. If you're the honey, the bee will come to you. So that's what we're doing right now.
That's really interesting. And I have a question about the leap from, what is like 10 or 20 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
What, because like, based on your KPIs, you're saying it should increase at that rate or whatever. What was the difference? Like, what was it? Just the internal stuff of underwriting deals? Where did that go wrong?
You know what? And we've seen it. We've scaled our company to a degree where we had 12 people in the office, and we've scaled down to 1, 2, 3, 4, like 7, 8 people. And the hardest thing, Brendan, is managing people. The more people you have to manage, the more mouths you have to feed, and the more responsibility you carry diminishes results. So as soon as we saw, and hence we don't deal with our VAs, we don't manage them, we don't treat them, but we do help our acquisition manager, our disposition manager, our lead manager, our director of operations, like we manage them, right? And as if we had more people in-house, our results started to go down. And there's a sweet spot, which I think is what we have right now. So that's the exact same thing that happened with our callers. Our VA managers that manage the callers, that track KPIs, that got overwhelmed. It was way harder to track and manage 10, 20 VAs that when they were sick, they could replace each other, or they had personal problems, or training. Like when you're training 12 people in here is hard. Imagine training 40 VAs. Yes, it's a Zoom call, but when it's more intimate, you have 10, 15 people. Like the trainers can actually deliver more value and more questions can be asked. But when you have 40 people and 40 people have questions, guess what? Like no one's going to want to raise their hand. And if they do, like it's just less productive. Not to say that it's not possible. It didn't work for us. We saw the same in our cold calling, and we saw the same here in our sales floor.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's Alex Hermosi. I don't know if you follow him. He kind of blew up the last couple of years, but
oh yeah,
one of the things he says is the thing that gets you to like 1 to 3 million is not the same strategy that gets you like 10 million. It kind of seems like that applies here.
Yeah, and that's Hermosi is the GOAT, right? Like he hit the nail on the head, and no, like it doesn't get you there. Now the question you got to ask yourself, Brendan, or if you're in a wholesaler or fix and flipper, is what do you want your business to look like? And that's where Rodolfo Templeton and myself continue to have daily conversations of what do we want our business to look like? What do we want our wholesaling business to look like? And for us, we've determined that we don't want a big company. We don't want a massive wholesale operation. We just want a small, lean and mean machine that produces cash, that then we can grab that cash and invest into assets. So if you are a dude that wants to start wholesaling and your dream is to build a corporation, like a massive wholesale company, it is possible. I'm not the guy to teach you that. However, if you're a dude that wants like, dude, I just want to make 4-6 mil, have my wholesale company make $3 to $6 million top line revenue, I can help you with that. Like that's a company I can do. But like if you want your wholesale company to become 10 million plus, like
Keegley franchises and stuff
exactly,
like that.
Exactly, right? Like Keegley is an amazing business model. Jamil is one of the brightest minds I've ever met and seen him work from afar, like in social media. What he's doing is amazing. Now, we started growing to that, and Rod Temp and I quickly found out that that is not what we want. We want a dope ass life where we come into the office at 8 and 9, we work 9 to 2 or 3, we're down with our families, and we're not slaves, because we started working towards freedom. How do you get freedom, right? By hiring people, systems, processes, and all that. And yes, we became free of the day-to-day inside the company tasks, but we were not free. We now had 10, 15, 20 people to manage, right? So it's like, what do we want? And then right now we're like, we want our freedom back. I would rather do a couple deals, help my guys here, and still be more in the trenches, but not be a slave of like, dang, I can't leave this week to San Diego because I got 12, 15 guys on the sales floor that depend on me, right? So
that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately is what is the definition of freedom? Because you can go with that a few different ways. What's your general definition of freedom?
Doing what you love every single day. Like, I love what I do. I love wholesaling houses. I love fixing and flipping to a degree. If I'm flipping, last year, there was a point where we were flipping 35 houses at the same time. High stress. I was like,
that's
no,
a lot.
that's a lot, right? We're like, there's a sweet spot to everything. We found out that if we're flipping 8 to 10 houses at a time, that's easy for us. We can do that in our sleep. We have the crews, we have the project managers to run that. It really doesn't require much of our time. Wholesaling, like, I love coming in the office. I love hearing my guys talk. Like, it's just freedom of time. Yeah, doing what you like. If I want to go to San Diego next week for the whole week, being able to do it and my business keeps running, that's the definition of freedom. Now, it's different for other people, but for me, it's just doing what you love every single day.
So here's a question. Let's say someone works a 9-to-5 job and they like that job, but they have a boss that could potentially decide they don't want them as an employee, and now they can't make ends meet. Is that person still free? Ooh. This is the thought process that I jump through in my head when I'm just sitting around.
No, that person is not free, right? I look at freedom because I say that is freedom to me because I own the company.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah,
I own the company, right? And I do what I love. So what I would say to that person is, go own something that you love. That, yeah, maybe you have to still work there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, but you love doing it, and your boss can fuck off, and you can go to San Diego or wherever you want to go.
Yeah, and I even question the authenticity of the person in that situation if they say they love what they do, because there's got to be something where it's like you can't quite feel comfortable. Maybe that's just me and how I look at it.
No, dude, you're right. Like
the love of something that you created is more than something you're buying into, like somebody else's.
Exactly. Dude, you're hitting the nail on the head every time you say something, Brendan. Yeah. Why do I love it? Because I created it. Like, I've built SoulPod alongside with Rod and Temp, and that's why I feel I'm free, because it's something I've built. Obviously, if I go in an operation that I haven't built, I'm not free. But you gotta become the owner of something to be free. Or become a wealthy real estate investor that, because everyone says financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your lifestyle, right? That's
Right.
that's basically the definition of financial freedom. For me personally, I am still not financially free where my passive income exceeds my lifestyle, but I do have a business that still requires my time that produces income that exceeds my lifestyle. So am I financially free? I don't
Yeah,
know. Like,
I think so. That's the conclusion that I came to when I was thinking about this, because you're right. That is the definition people throw out there with financial freedom. But to me, it's like if you were to, I like to take things to extreme scales because then it makes it easier to imagine. Like when you look
mhm.
at like the most crazy version of it, like imagine if you had the ability to like draw a picture and it would sell for, and it was like really easy for you to do. You could just write something down and then it would sell for 10 grand. Like
Yeah.
that's not passive, but by no means is that not, because it's you, something comes from your brain. You can do it at any time, whenever you want to. And the barriers to doing it are basically zero. So to me, that's even more than having like a passive amount. To me, now it's like you show someone how to do that one time, now they can do it 50 times and it's endless. It's like
Yeah.
I think that's where like you can tap into financial freedom way sooner that way too, you know?
Yeah. The debate is that you still have a high paying job, which it's up for
Yeah.
grabs, right? I still sometimes think I still have a high paying job because if I'm not here, the company is still going to produce money, but it's not going to produce the money that it would if I was here every day. That's just a fact. And it's just that how it's Jim Rohn says one thing that's very powerful. Change the way you look at things and the things you look at change, right?
Yeah.
It's all about how you look at things. If someone's in my spot and their mindset's like, I am not financially free, I still have a high paying job, and this sucks. Or not that this sucks, but like this is still what I'm doing. That's how you look at it. How I look at it is I am financially free. However, I still gotta work if I want to keep that freedom,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right. I know. I think, yeah, I think that's the way it is compared
it's
to
it,
the other school of thought.
it's just, and I'll get there. I'll become financially free soon. I have nice passive income that comes to me, but it doesn't exceed the lifestyle that I want. And I know once I do that, I'm not gonna stop working because I'm a machine. Like I always want more, 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 more. However, it's just how I look at it. Like right now, I'm financially free. I still need to keep working to become to be financially free. But I want to work. I love to work. So that's just
What
perspective.
what part of real estate do you enjoy the most?
Hmm. What do you mean by that? Like, what do you
Some
mean?
people are really sales oriented. They love talking with people. Some people like the ins and outs of the business managing. Do you like fix and flip compared to like buy and hold? Is there something that sticks out to you where it's like, this is my passion more than something else?
So when it comes to niches, exit strategies per se, I really like wholesaling. Why? Because you carry no risk. It's a sales and marketing
Mm-hmm.
company, and you wholesale houses and you make a lot of cash. But that's not why I love wholesaling. I love wholesaling. Obviously, very low risk. You're risking your cash to market. But what I love about wholesaling is that you're able to produce high amounts of cash to go then invest that money into income producing assets. That's why I love wholesaling. However, wholesaling is the tool that we use to fund our rentals, our investments that are going to produce passive income that hence are going to go into financial freedom, right? But if we don't have wholesaling, we don't have that other thing. So that's why I would say wholesaling is probably my favorite. Our goal is to have enough rentals where our business and life can be sustained. But if we don't wholesale right now, that's not going to be doable. So right now, I'm in love with wholesaling, and I think I will be in love with wholesaling for the rest of my life because it's just a great business model.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a great way to start, and it's also the fundamentals of everything is
Yeah.
you can learn it all. You know, you learn how to value a deal, sell it. You got to understand the flippers to be able to do it. And so
Yeah. No,
you kind
no,
of
I
learn.
agree. I think I flipped a lot of houses, but flipping is the riskiest one.
Yeah.
The riskiest, is that a word?
Yeah.
All right.
If not, it's
The one
nowadays.
you carry the most risk when you're flipping a house, but bigger the risk, bigger the reward, right? But wholesaling and then long-term rentals, I would say. Once I have enough long-term rentals, I'm going to tell you long-term rentals, or it's like wholesaling because I still can buy more long-term rentals.
What about multifamily, like syndication deals? Have you thought about that? Have you done that? What's your
We
opinion?
haven't done that, dude. That's definitely in the next couple of years for SoulPod.
Yeah.
I think right now, especially where we're headed to, I mean, we're already in a recession technically. But I think the people that are already doing that, syndications and going and buying amazing multifamily assets are crushing.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to crush. However, that's one skill I would say that you need to learn quick in order to thrive in the recession, because there's people out there with cash. And if you're someone that doesn't have that cash to go and invest and create wealth, but if you develop this skill of sourcing deals and learning how to syndicate and then deploying that capital into cash flow income producing assets, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. So, I mean, that's in the works. We've definitely been talking about it. We've been talking to attorneys on how to set it up, but that is something we haven't done.
Yeah. Well, I think more importantly than, having one foot in everything, like you guys got really good at wholesaling and flipping. And it's like, you've reached a level where now it seems appropriate for you guys to do that, whereas someone who's like done a couple deals, maybe doing a flip, it's like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to go get into a big multifamily, learn a whole new thing,
Yeah, no, I agree, dude. And I mean, I think just kind of shifting our conversation to networking, net worth that's how you're going to be able to become not just a little wholesaler or something, but if you're able to get in the right room with the right people, that'll continue to that will level up your life, your business, everything.
That's one thing I will say you guys have done a really good job of, just from an outside observer of you guys. It seems like from whether it's on social media or just talking to you, you can tell that like you mentioned, your core values, that really comes through. And then also I've heard you guys talk about how you do deals. That's a little different than the average wholesaling company as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
No, first I want, what have you heard? That way I can elaborate on that. Right, on how we do deals.
Well, okay, yeah. So I've heard that everyone brings you deals, including realtors, and then it's like, no matter what, you'll close on the deal. So it's like you lay out all the options, and whatever's best, that's what you go with. And it creates this really transparent, trusting environment, which ultimately ends up bringing you more deals as well. Is that
100%?
True? Okay.
100%. So we're always big advocates of we're not just wholesalers. People know we wholesale deals. However, we tell realtors, wholesalers, and other investors out there, if you bring us a deal and we give you a price, and we're like, hey, or Brendan, you bring us a deal, you're like, I want $300,000 for this house. And we're like, perfect, we're in. We're going to close on it regardless. Maybe our intention is to go wholesale that house and make a $10,000, $15,000 wholesale fee. But if we can't go do that, we're going to close on your house regardless. If you got our word from us, that's happening. And to this day, there hasn't been a single deal that we have canceled on. That's just something we pride ourselves with. However, sometimes we hey, Brennan, I appreciate you sending the deal. It's at the price you sent it, it's not a good fit. How we can either sell it for you without a commitment, or if you want us to commit and get a sure buy price, our price is X amount. And then we go from there, right? However, to this day, we haven't canceled on a single deal we have committed to.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
that's something we're proud of, saying, and we say it out loud. And when we say it, a lot of people never believe us. It's like, dude, ask around, and ask, has SoulPod ever canceled on you if they committed? And if someone says no, hey, at me and see me at my house. And
yeah, right. What one thing I always kind of like go back and forth on, and I had this happen with me recently, is like a seller backing out. Have you ever
Okay.
had that happen? And
Oh,
if
dude,
so,
all the time.
okay, because
All
I
the
have this
time.
weird like ethical dilemma where it's like I don't want to like force someone to sell their house, but then also on the other side, it's like you agreed, and it's not. I'm not acting on your behalf. I'm acting in my interest, and you can't just use me like that, you know?
Yeah, well, it comes down a lot, Brennan, to the sales approach that you take.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I that's one of my strengths, sales. I'm very good at sales, at communicating to people and guiding people to sell their house to me.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we do very well is in the last step of our sales process is called post sell. What that does is basically it prevents that from happening. And what you do is once you have a signed contract with a seller, you bring it up. You're like, Brennan, we have a signed contract right here. And what does this contract mean to you? It's like, oh, well, it means I just sold my house. Perfect. To me, it means we're solving pain one, pain two, pain three, and you're going to be able to move to X place. Great. Awesome. Brennan, can I ask you a very, very, very hard question?
Yes.
Do you see anything happening from right now to close of escrow date that's going to prevent us from doing business together and you're going to want to cancel?
No, I don't see why.
You don't see why? Because
No.
if you can think of something, Brennan, I would rather you let me know right now. That way we can tear this contract apart. We'll tear it apart. We'll cancel right now and we'll go our separate ways. Because once I'm committed to you, Brennan, I expect that same level of commitment back. And if I don't get that, I will pursue legal action. So I would rather you let me know right now. And
That's really
then,
good.
I mean, keep going. I'm not done.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. You got my word. Let's move forward.
Perfect. So, because I'm telling you all this, Brennan, not to scare you, because once I commit to a property like yours, I already invest hundreds of, not tens of thousands of dollars. I hire contractors. And by doing that, I need to give them a deposit, not just for one thing, but for other things as well. I buy materials and I get all my ducks in a row that for when we close, I'm ready to roll because every day it costs me money. So if the time comes where you want to come and cancel, I am not letting that happen. And that's why if once I'm committed to you and I'm doing all those things and I'm already spending money, I expect that same level of commitment back. You said one thing, Brennan. You said that you're a man of your word. Are you though?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am.
All right, perfect. So you can't think of anything.
Well, actually, my sister was interested in buying it, and I was thinking about talking to her first.
Oh, gotcha. So should I just tear this apart and you want to go talk to your sister?
No, 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 no. She's not as serious as you are.
Okay, so if we move forward, you're not going to counsel me because your sister wants to buy the house.
No, I will not.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And that's it, dude. Like, what are the chances that you're going to want to cancel on me now?
No, there's zero chance. The guilt will eat them alive at that point.
Exactly. They gave you their word. I made them promise. I told them about legal repercussions, and I haven't taken two times. We're in two litigations right now. And one thing I might add that I always add to that part is, Brennan, you're gonna have people calling you and asking you about your property, and you're gonna tell them it's sold. Then they're gonna tell you how much you sell it for, and you're gonna say 300,000. And then they're gonna tell you, oh well, I can pay $5,000 or $10,000 more. What's gonna happen if that happens? Are you gonna want to cancel, or are you gonna honor your word and still sell to me?
Right. No, I'll still sell you.
Really? Because it's very possible, Brennan, that you're gonna get that call and another investor that doesn't have the right ethics is gonna want to go behind my back, go directly to you, and try to get the deal under you. And I mean, maybe those $5,000 are worth, like, your dignity is worth $5,000, and you would sell it. So, but I need to know that right now so we can tear this contract up. And they would say no. 100% of the times they say no. I'm a man of my word, women of my word. We're good. The
Mhm.
only two times they've canceled, no, they've canceled a lot of times. with
But
the 248 deals we've done, we've had 4 cancellations, right? Like
yeah,
it
which there's
happens.
going
It's
to be
gonna
one
happen.
off.
And it depends. Like there's sellers that cancel too because one seller came to us and we did that whole step, but they canceled because they don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
Like I can't find a place. It's like, we're not gonna buy your house and force you out of here. Like, that's fine. Like, stay here. But what do? We record a memorandum for whenever he does sell, he has to go through us.
Oh yeah.
And we tell them, we're upfront. It's like, hey, Brennan, stay at your property. Don't worry, we get it. It's expensive right now, inflation, blah, 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 blah. However, we're going to record a memorandum on your place because we had an executed contract for, so when the time comes to sell, the only thing that this does is it lets Maricopa County know that we had a contract and we'll figure something out when you do decide to sell. Cool. All right, perfect.
Yeah. That kind of leads into another point of the I don't know what the word is, like the emotional toll of the business, because it's not, well, one thing that I've had to adjust to is like 9 to 5 life is like you show up, you go home, and you can just disconnect. Whereas like when you got deals in the line and it's connected directly to you, it's up and down sometimes. How do you keep your mind right?
Dude, I love that you asked that question, man. And yeah, it does take a toll on you, and your mental strength needs to be top notch because the stress you carry, especially if you're flipping houses and you have millions of dollars out there on the streets and you have a team and you have people on payroll that depend on you to provide for them because that's how they provide for their family and so on, so on. So it takes a toll on you. It just does. However, to answer your question, is you need to become the best version of yourself personally, because that's what's going to get you through the tough times. And what do I mean by that? Is become the best version of yourself in your life. Like, be in the best shape possible. Be eating clean, meditating, journaling, praying, being grateful for what you actually have, developing yourself, reading those personal development books. And if you do that day in, day out, and you have a routine or whatever you had, and you continue to strive to become the best version of yourselves, whenever something hits you, you're going to be okay. Like, yes, you're going to have dark thoughts. Yes, you're going to have fear-based thoughts, but you're going to push through because you're developed. But if you have a weak mindset and you're not developed, you're not going to make it. That's just, you see the people that don't make it is because of that, right? Like, they're just like, oh, I can't make it. It's simple.
Yeah, like as bad as it sounds, that's why I do feel to a certain level you're like your net worth or your income can correlate to the quality of a person that you are, because you're like, what you're saying is like the better you are at everything translates to the value you provide in the marketplace.
No, 100%. Again, one of my favorite guys in personal development space is Jim Rohn, and he has a quote that reads, "Your income will seldom exceed your personal development."
Yeah.
And I cannot agree with that like more. If that's so, he says your income will seldom exceed your personal development. I am you're looking at some dude that, and everyone that you see around is a living proof of that. My first year in real estate, Brendan, I made $12,000. Why? Because in 2018, I was a $12,000 individual.
Yeah.
I had not read any books. I had not gone to any seminars. I hadn't meditated, hadn't journaled. I didn't know anything. But along all the course of 2018, I developed, I read, I studied, I journaled, I meditated, I got in the best shape of my life. And next year, I made over 6 figures, right? Because of what I put in all of 2018, I developed into a 6-figure individual, and I went and did it in 2019. And then I kept doing it. And then in 2020, I tripled my income. And then in 2021, I tripled my income again. Why? Because you keep investing in yourself and you keep developing. If you stop reading, you start dying. It goes for everything that comes with personal development. Once you stop doing it, you're going to stay there. Yeah, you're going to make a lot of money, but you're not going to grow.
Right. I think the hardest part about that concept, or at least accepting that concept as truth, is that once you agree with it, you immediately have to take personal responsibility with where you're at. And that
Yeah.
sucks sometimes, especially if you're a low, like you're not valuable, that can be
No,
rough. Like
no, it's
looking at your
rough,
bank
dude.
account and accepting that, like, yeah, I
Dude,
just suck. I got to get better. That's rough. But
dude,
you did it. And look what happened.
dude. 2018, when 2018 got finished, I quit my job cold turkey with like 8 grand in debt, credit card, and like 10 grand in student loan debt. And I had like $2,000 in my bank account. And then fast forward to the end of 2018, I was like 50, 60 grand in debt and with like, I don't know, $500 in my bank account. So imagine all that hard work and like your debt goes all the way up. You're still not making money. Why did my debt increase? Because I was buying these books, buying these seminars, still investing myself, still putting it out there. And for some reason, and this is when it comes, because I was developed, I invested in myself, and I was the best version of myself. When 2018 in December, it was the best version of myself, and I was able to push through. I saw my bank accounts, I saw my debts, and I was like, I had that weird feeling inside my gut that everything's gonna be okay. Like I just knew it, and I was happy and I was grateful, and I would journal every time. I was like, God, thanks for the roof, thanks for letting me sleep on a mattress, thanks for letting me. There was not a single day where I was starving, right? Like all those things we take for granted, and inside of me, I was like, everything's gonna be okay. Like I just knew it, and why? Because I was putting in the work. 2019 ends, I'm debt free, I'm thriving, and I'm starting to take off. But that's because you're becoming the best version of yourself each and every day. You can never be the best version of yourself because there's always a better version of you.
Yeah, kind of like a weird analogy you could apply to that is that relates to real estate is like, oh, I'm getting a notification here. We got 5 minutes. But to finish that thought, an analogy is like you can leverage debt in real estate. You leverage things like
Credit card.
knowledge and health and all these other things into yourself, and then it paid off and you got a bunch of equity in yourself where now you're like this higher level individual.
Yes, dude, 100%. And if I have to give any advice to anyone is, dude, go get as many credit cards as you can. That's what I did. And I, just like I leveraged my health, my personal development, I leveraged the hell out of my credit cards. Dude, I was the minimum payment, dude. Like that was it. Like I paid rent with my credit cards. So
yeah, but I mean, it's something completely different than, it's not just spending. That literally is investing. It's more
it's
so
exactly that.
the ROI is even better on yourself, because you had to keep that.
100%, dude.
Yeah, that's cool. Kind of switching the topic a little bit. What's a good list to call in 2022?
Good list to call. I think right now a great list to call is tired landlords. That's an amazing list, especially right now where we're headed to. People are going to get laid off and recession's coming. People are not going to be able to pay their rent. So tired landlords and old people list, as bad as that sounds. They are old people list. I would start filling up that pipeline because usually they're the ones looking at the news. They know that the market's going to go down and they're going to want to sell their house because that's probably their biggest investment they have. And that's what we're personally targeting.
Yeah, I did an interview with Rich Wonders, Rich Wonders.
Great dude.
Another example of like someone who operates on a like really ethical and value first basis and does really well. So he introduced me to the novation process.
Yeah.
And I found that to be really powerful. And I have a deal right now. Hopefully I can get them to sign today. They said they're going to. I should be getting a call later, but it's kind of like that avatar where you said they're older, they're looking to downsize. And I've noticed that's more frequently the leads that I'm getting, but it's also like another opportunity to provide value, wherever you can fit yourself in the marketplace.
100%. I think we've been to a couple appointments where they're older older couples, and dude, that's what you should be targeting.
Mhm. What's a good book you recommend? You mentioned you read quite a bit.
I read quite a bit. The first book I always recommend everyone is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Okay.
I don't know if you read it, but it's amazing. It's kind of like the Bible for personal development.
Really?
Well, no, that's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is another great book. That book's great. I love it. Powerful book. It's just hard to read, and it's hard to like.
Dude, that book was the reason I started the podcast.
Oh, really? That's
because
awesome.
He goes and like interviews all the wealthiest people, and I was like, well, how do I do that? And I just turned it into this.
Dude, that's a genius idea. That's exactly it. But so, Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, it's teaching you about life, your decisions that you make day in, day out, and how that compounds into either amazing things or bad things. So it just depends on decisions you make. Small, insignificant decisions that you make day in, day out to determine your life.
That's really cool. Okay, I will read that. What's your why?
My why, I always say that your why changes every, like it's what's the word I use? Why comes in seasons, right? When I first started, my why was to not be broke and to have money to be able to like get married, which I did. And like, that was my why. Right now, my why is to provide for my family and become a provider, not only for my wife and my future family, but also for my parents, for my brother, for my sister, for my wife's family. Like, I want to be a resource for them. So right now, that's what I'm working for. I'm working towards being a giver to the ones I love. So that's my why right now.
That's amazing, man. Well, listen, dude, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I think
Thank you for having me, dude.
You absolutely packed this episode full of value. I'm excited for anyone that's going to listen to this to go out and start making some things happen for themselves.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
And I always love seeing the good guys do well. You guys are the ones, if any, that deserve it. You're doing business the right way. You're doing it at a high level. So congrats on all your success.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. That's really cool of you to say. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Where can people find you? Plugs,
dude,
websites?
They can find me on Instagram at miguelprado.v. That's at miguelprado.v. That's pretty straightforward. And websites, dude, I probably should make a website, but no, just Instagram, man. Just DM me, and I may take some time because they get lost in the message request and I never get in there. But there, dude, or if they want to text me, 602-800-9995. Text me if you have a question or anything, or want life advice or have a deal.
It's awesome, man. Miguel Prado, everybody. Get wealthy.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.